Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Celestia Radio. It is Matthias here, as usual, joined as normal by Dalit
Hey,
and not Nat. Nat is not with us this week, but we do have a good friend of the show, and be joining us as our guest. Our friend Shel is here. Shel, say what's up.
Hello.
And since we have the man here, Shel is our de facto Arc Knights aficionado in our friend group. So we're gonna, grill him on Arc Knights things. And by grill him on Arc Knights things, that means we're just gonna talk about Arc Knights, and he's gonna educate me and Dalit where we are just completely ignorant. Yeah, that's the plan. That's what we're gonna do.
And I will do my absolute best just because some of the mechanics in this game are fucking weird.
yeah.
It's got some weird ones. I Every time I go to play it, I'm just like, doing because I
Brain overload?
wait, yeah, well, yeah, brain overload, 100%. Because my brain just doesn't have the capacity for it. But it's usually the events. When I come into play, it's always the events, and the events always end up introducing some kind of like stage mechanic for the event or whatever. At least the ones I've been doing, and I'm just kind of like, why? Why add more to this game?
99% of the time, those stage mechanics show up in that event, and that is it.
They
And then,
never come back.
well, they used to when we had this wonderful little thing that would show up like every other month or so called
What, CC?
contingency contract.
Yeah.
But we don't have contingency contract anymore. We have, what is it called? Battle something? Battle plan is now what it's called.
See, I don't even know
And
what
like
that
we had like their attempt at reworking contingency contract into this battle plan thing, like right before or right after the new year, and nobody liked it. They didn't like it in CN when it came out. So they went back to the drawing board and they have it now closer to contingency contract, but a little bit different, and now it's called Battle Plan. And I think the first one we're getting is Battle Plan Pyrolysis, because we're going back to setting things on fire, I guess.
It's always a strong theme.
I was setting things on fire tends to work, I guess. So slightly ahead of ourselves, I think we should
True.
just describe what the game is, at least like at a base level for anybody that doesn't know. So
The best way I can describe Arknights is it is a tower defense game, more
Correct.
at the heart. It is a tower defense game at the heart, and your units are divided up into 7 classes that make sense, and then one class is, hey, these units, they don't fit in any of the other classes. We're going to call them specialists, and like there's going to be 8 different versions of specialists.
yeah, okay, that tracks. Yeah, I was just gonna say it's a tower defense gotcha game, because of course it's a gotcha game. Anybody that's listening to this
It is gotcha.
that listens to this podcast knows that Matt here, this lovely voice that y'all are all used to at this point, has a problem with gotcha games. Um, I've played way too many, but uh, yeah, tower defense game classes. The specialist thing is funny because yeah, it's kind of anything that doesn't fit into the other 7, including a character that if you are like just big brained enough, you can play the entire game with just the one character.
Actually, she is a summoner. She's not a specialist.
Oh, is she not?
She is a summoner.
Oh, okay. Wait, summoner its own
She
thing
is a
now.
summoner, but her summons are extremely broken because AoE damage is fucking dumb.
I didn't realize summoner was its own class. I thought it was part of the specialist.
Yes, summoner is its own class.
Okay.
The classes are, again, probably getting a little ahead of ourselves. Vanguards, which are generally your first to deploy. Your guards, which are generally melee-oriented attackers. Defenders. If you can't figure out what a defender is by the name, I can't help you. Snipers are snipers. Casters are magical range damage. to snipers' physical range damage. Medics, they heal people. Supporters, which I actually guess I was wrong with the summoners. Summoners are a subclass of supporters, which is weird that they really should be in specialists, but
yeah, that's probably what threw me off, because supporter and summoner don't mesh. And the first one of you mofos that I know that come into the comments and make the Final Fantasy XI summoner jokes, I will ban you. I will ban you.
And then the specialists are they're almost all of them are melee. So they do all like fit into that, but then it's like, there's like 8 different subclasses of specialists. A bunch of the main classes all have different subclasses too, but like specialist has, like, after I think the character came out like a year and a half into the game, his name's Ak. They have given him the subclass of geek. He is still the only geek in the game, because he does really weird things, like he shoots you and it takes away your own unit's health, but it gives them like a massive attack steroid.
What?
And they've just never fucked with that subclass again, because it's like, he does it so well. Why would they make another one?
It's called Geek?
Yep.
Geek, yes, it is. That is actually what Ox subclass is called. It is called Geek.
Huh. That's I'm kind of mind blown by that. That's what they called it. Like that was the naming they went with. Okay.
A lot of us were very confused when we saw that subclass.
So it's a tower defense game. It's got these classes. And of course, it is a very fun game. Should preface that. Like, yes, tower defense. If tower defense isn't your jam, you probably won't enjoy it. But I mean, if you enjoy tower defense to any degree, you will probably enjoy this game, because it does tower defense really well. It's
tower defense very, very well.
Yeah, it's very strategic, very fun. The characters are all really great. And we'll talk about like the art and all that as well, I'm sure. But the trickiest part there is, you would think, right? Because we've said it's a gacha game. You think the trickiest part is, well, it's a gacha, so you have to gacha for the characters, and if you don't have the good characters, you can't do it well. I think, Shel, you said this to me back when I first started. The game is balanced around its 4 stars, and
it's balanced around the 4 stars, and it's, I would say now that where the chapters are, it is more balanced around the 5 stars, but you very much can beat a grand majority of the story stages, most of the event stages, with just 4 stars. There are like 5 stars that maybe it would recommend you having, just because they have a better stat spread than the 4 stars. And then the 6 stars, I'm looking at some of them are very, very overtuned for what is necessary.
And to kind of break that down for people who aren't familiar with the terminology for Arc Knights, we'll say a 6-star is an SSR, a 5-star is an SR, and a 4-star is an R, right?
Sure.
It's close enough.
It's close enough. So with the majority of the game being balanced around your R rarity characters, you don't have to worry about the gacha screwing you as much in terms of being able to complete content. Not to mention, there's a lot of fairly decent free-to-play ways to get some higher rarity characters and stuff, so it works out.
Every event comes with at least 1 free 5-star. Some events will have a free 6-star. Those are usually like, it is the anniversary, the Chinese New Year now. They used to not. And the half Annie, half Annie, Chinese New Year, and anniversary will give a free 6-star usually.
So yeah, I mean, you don't have to worry about the gacha too much in that term. So if you like tower defense, definitely worth a shot in that regard, because it's fun. It's really well done. It's amazing tower defense if you like tower defense. I say for myself, I like tower defense, but I don't like it that much. And normally, when I'm playing a mobile game or a gotcha game in general, this isn't what I'm looking for. I'm either looking for something to turn my brain off or something where the gameplay is just not tower defense. It's more RPG or actiony than uh, what this ends up being for myself. But I still like Arknights even if I don't play it that much.
To plug it a bit, even if you're not a fan of Arknights, I would say give it a try for the story, because it very much does hold your hand through like the first 4 chapters, I'll say. 4 or 5 chapters, it pretty much holds your hand. And the story is very good. The story is honestly the selling point of this game. I really like the game, but I would never sell it on it's a tower defense game,
Yeah.
because not everyone is all about tower defense. I would absolutely sell it on the story.
Yeah, and you beat me to it. I was gonna say like the story in this game is incredible. Like the world building, the story, characters, it's all so good.
I'd go so far as to say the gameplay might actually be the weakest aspect because, and
Gameplay is the weakest aspect.
yeah, and we'll cover this later on. But whether you're in it for the overarching narrative, the character work, the art, the music, ooh, the music, or just the waifus, this game has plenty to offer. But it is, as has been said multiple times, a tower defense game. And if you can't reconcile with that little fact, it is going to be hard.
Yeah, it has a lot of positive qualities, and you both said it. The weakest part is its gameplay, and that's a shame because the story's so good, the art's so good, the characters are so cool. Like I'll find myself like opening Twitter, because I regularly go to Twitter to look at artists because I follow so many artists.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, like me and Dalit both mentioned our love for art on the podcast before. Um, so I'm on here scrolling through artists' art, and I'll always see Arknight stuff because it's just so good. It's look, even if you don't like the game, please go check out the artist's art because it's so good.
The art is worth checking out, as Dalit said, the music.
Yeah, the music is also incredible. I haven't listened to a
Also,
lot of the music.
Monster Siren does not miss.
Is that what the people that do?
That's what they call they call their in-house music studio, Monster Siren.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Monster Siren Radio.
That's cool. Okay. All right. And so Celestia Radio needs to get sign a deal with them so we can just play their music. Yo, that's the idea. Once we get big enough, listeners, y'all hear me now. I'm giving this to you. Y'all can call me out on it later. When we're big enough, we're gonna make a channel on something. I don't know. We might do it right here. I don't know. Where it's just music playing all the time, and we're just gonna get permission to play a bunch of game music. That's big brain idea.
Really will be Celestia Radio at that point.
See, that's the dream, right?
An actual radio station.
Yeah, it'll be a radio station, and then our podcast is just the talk show that interrupts the radio.
Exactly.
The big brain ideas. Y'all are seeing the 10-year plan right here, planned out live. Not live, but you get the point. So, curious. We've talked a little bit about what the game is, but I want to ask because I know the answer for myself, and I think I know the answer for Dalit, and of course we'll both answer as well. But when and what made you try this game, Shel? Like, because I like me and Dalit met you through gotcha games. That is where we met you, was through mobile games, through gotcha games, through FGO back in the day, and then where you became a member of our large, very colorful friend group.
Yeah.
So I knew you were no stranger to gotcha games, but I knew you started playing this one. But I don't think I ever asked. Yeah, day one. So I never asked what made you.
So, I used to play a gotcha game called Girls Frontline, anyone who knows gotcha games that's listening has probably heard of Girls Frontline 2 coming out in CN, and I think sometime later this year
Sounds
it's
right.
supposed to come out for global, but I'm not positive on that.
Mm-hmm.
One of the lead devs for Arc Knights goes by the moniker Lowlight, and he had some issues with creative differences, I think is how it's best put, in the direction Girls Frontline was going. So he left Mika Team and founded his own studio, Hypergriff, and they ended up getting YoStar um, to publish Arknights. And I think I heard about it a couple months after it was out in CN, just because it was right before the pandemic, and just we didn't know the pandemic was coming, but it. So I checked out some of the gameplay because I saw it was CN only at the time, and it was coming to NA. They didn't have a set date. But I'm like, you know what? Let me poke it. Let me try it out. I tried it out, and despite not being able to read anything because it was in Mandarin, I liked it. Um, I liked it, and I kind of looked up a little bit more on it and said, all right, I'll give it a go because I know one of the dudes who's working on it, and one of my favorite gotcha game artists. There are a couple actually. Leduc, who's
Mm-hmm.
done a bunch of characters in Arknights and also did some for Girls Frontline. I think Leduc's done a couple for Azure Lane as well, but I could be wrong about that. Um, the artist I really cared about was
Infocun?
Infocun. Yes, Infocun. They were like one of the lead artists for Arknights because the main squad, not Arknights, for Girls Frontline, because they drew the main squad for that. And they came over, and they haven't done many characters for Arknights, but the few they have,
That can
A
be said for a
plus,
lot of characters in Dark Knights
A
period. To
plus.
be fair, just A plus. Like great designs in the game all around.
Um, and I was like, cool, cool. Got and just by gate had faith in the direction it would go, and a couple of the early chapters are questionable, but aside from that, the story is probably the best I've seen in a gotcha game. um Probably only certain chapters of Fago and then Grand Blue Fantasy, after it's kind of like monster of the island section gets done and over with, can even compete. And I'd put Grand Blue Fantasy right up there with it, and Girls Frontline until things got crazy. But it easily has some of my favorite characters easily in any gotcha. It beats out Go, it beats out Grand Blue, it beats out even Girls Frontline at this point. They like a majority of the cast is female, but probably what sets Arknights the most apart from a lot of other gotcha games
When it does male
is
characters, it does really good.
character. Well, besides the male characters being very good, the female characters, they are not just given scantily outfits or like minimum clothing options just for the sake of being sexy, for being eye candy. There's a couple that are like that. You're not going to escape that. And then obviously there are swimsuit outfits for characters. Um, but it very much does give majority of the characters anyway, like believable clothing / attire for combat operators. Mind you, there are some characters that you can use as combat operators that really aren't dressed for anything more than civilian life, and their profiles say as much, and I don't
Because
understand why
sometimes you
they're
just gotta
operators.
fight to survive, you know? You just end up in that situation.
It do be like that. It do be like that.
It do be like that, but when you're both legally blind and legally deaf, I don't care how good the operator's kit actually is.
I was about to
I
say.
don't I don't think they should be in combat.
I mean, look, say what you want about Sheepy. She is still, to this day, one of the most broken units in that game.
She's the best single target caster, and the only unit that
Hey,
even comes
sometimes to
close
become
is
the best, you
Kyobe.
just have to give up
Hmm.
something like maybe your sight and hearing. You know, it's yeah, equivalent exchange, right?
Equivalent exchange.
It and that's you know, that's something that I think with both of the games you mentioned with this, Girls Frontline and Arc Knights, they Girls Frontline I know definitely did it, and to my knowledge, Arc Knights does as well. Like it's not afraid to get a little bit dark in its storytelling at times, which is a nice touch.
Yes. It definitely both of them. Lowlight is not afraid to kill characters. Lowlight has no fear of killing people. Or you know, having them become the enemy
Yeah?
because that I
Yeah.
mean, they've done that without Lowlight as well with Girls Frontline, but there sometimes it's just like that person there, that unit you really like, they're now an enemy. You can still use them as a unit, whatever. Forget about the story segregation, gameplay and story segregation. But they're an enemy now. They're going to get a whole different like look to them that you're never going to get to use. Cries. Um, but
Look, whatever side Sop's on is the side I'm on.
well,
My man.
Sop is always a good one. Sop never
I'm happy to know
betrays.
that. I didn't finish the Girls Frontline story, unfortunately,
I
but
didn't
I'm
even
happy to.
come close. I'm
I
just
got
here
through
for
chapter 11.
Sop
I
and
think they
Aro.
finished at chapter 15, and then there were like 2 events that finished up the story after that. But
That like that's also a really good game for
it
context to everyone
is.
listening. It's a good
It
game.
has
It's
one of the worst gameplays of any gotcha game out there.
Happy you said it
yeah,
because I was
it's not
going
it's
to.
not very fun. It's not very fun. It's very outdated, and honestly, uh, find a YouTube video or something
Fine, yes,
explaining that story.
I very much would recommend finding a YouTube playlist. Maybe I can dig one up and have Matt toss it in the description or something.
Yeah,
Um, that has a combination of the main story and the story relevant events in order, and I'll make sure it tosses in the Valhalla collab because that's just too good to miss. Um, it's like, for as weird as that crossover is, they fucking nailed it, and I don't know how they fucking nailed it. But then again, Arknights then went and had a crossover with Rainbow Six Siege and made that fucking amazing somehow.
also the only way to get human characters in Arknights
Yes,
apparently
True.
because there are no actual just humans in
humans. Yes,
Arknights.
That
they
said,
all
Something I didn't
have.
know until recently.
I might have had a
Yes, they
preference for the Monster Hunter collab myself.
Monster Hunter Collab was good, but there was just something about Ash hitting the breaking point and just beating a man's face in with her bare fist.
I get all right. Well, fair. Uh,
Like,
the NPCs involved in that side story were also very good. One of them should most definitely become a unit. I'm just saying.
Listen, we are getting Degenbrocker as a unit. We can hope. Also, they're doing a second Rainbow
Yeah.
Six
Yeah,
Siege
they are.
event.
Wait, they are?
Yeah.
Yes, we're getting one new unit who's another Rainbow Six unit. But if they bring back that one NPC, I'm not saying we'll definitely get we'll get them as a unit, but very much gives them a better chance.
I would like the large hyena lady to be playable. That's all I'm saying.
So hold on, with the Monster Hunter collab, was that like a collab with a specific Monster Hunter, or
No,
just
just
Hunter in
Monster
general?
Hunter in general.
Just the
Monster
IP in
Hunter,
general. Matter of fact, no.
Okay.
I was gonna say no characters made it over, but I guess that's strictly speaking not true because the Palicos did. But
Yeah.
it was mostly focused on 2 characters already present in the game.
Yes, and it
Right.
gave them,
So I remember
and it
seeing
gave them
them.
all
Yeah.
units.
Correct.
Yeah.
That is something that does exist in Arknights. It doesn't happen often, and so far no character has had more than a single other alternate unit. But they had an update like back in August or September where you can now have
Both of
both
them in your
alternate units in your party at the same time. You used to not be able to do that. And you still can't have, because you can borrow a friend's unit, but you cannot have 2 of the same unit. You can have one unit and their alter in the party, but you cannot have 2 of the same unit.
Okay. So I have a. This might be like a silly question,
Hmm.
but it is a curious question, and this isn't about Arknight specifically. This is about gacha games.
Oh.
What, for both of you, what is your thoughts on alternate character units in gacha games? Do you like when games do that, or do you prefer they just have the one unit?
I like it if it progresses that character's personal story.
And I have absolutely no issue with it. I understand that making a character is really, really difficult. Having most of the legwork done is a big boon. And frankly, it's usually the popular characters that get it anyway. So it's not like it's not like these things aren't going to be used. I don't have an issue with it so long as the game doesn't just become 3 characters and just the 3 characters.
Gotcha. Okay. So, because I mean, there's a lot of different games that you can use for different ways of doing
What you're
alternate
doing
characters.
is you're pointing, you're trying not to say it. What you're doing is you're pointing at Figo. You're pointing at Figo.
I was about to say it. To be
Yeah.
fair, I was about to stop beating around the bush.
You're pointing
Okay,
at Figo is what you're doing.
How many different
So Figo,
Artorias
like,
can we have?
we have so many alternate characters, and in that particular instance, in some ways it makes sense because each character can exist in different classes depending on the character. They should exist in different classes. Fair.
There's
whatever.
too many Artorias.
There are too many Artorias. I'm not disagreeing with that. But yeah, Figo just really goes in on it and goes ham on it. But there are other games that do it too, right? Like a very recent example is Star Rail didn't beat around the bush and did it pretty early on because we got an alternate form to Dawn.
I'm not
Lume,
sure that's a great comparison because I don't know the next time we're going to get something like that because that was linked very directly to the story.
That was linked very directly to the story.
It was linked very directly to the story, yeah. But I mean, that is an alternate character.
Sure. I thought we were going to be
very recent.
I thought we were going to be mostly doing like Fate and maybe Honkai Impact 3rd is pretty bad for it because it's how many Kianas do you want?
Well, don't ask Coded. He'll say
yeah, exactly.
But no, see, I was gonna mention that too because I had another example in mind.
Right.
But I was gonna say like it was done recently in Star Rail, and I think
Sure.
that was a very, very good way. You see character progression in a way. There are other characters in Star Rail I would like to see get that treatment somewhere down the line.
March.
I think we're obviously going to see it with March.
Yeah.
Like that seems like a foregone conclusion.
Mhm.
We might see a new Welt somewhere down the line. That would be kind of cool. But I also would love to see Sampo because he's very clearly got more going on than that 4-star portrays, I think.
Yeah, he's gonna be some really important
something.
weirdo for a.a.a. We know it. We know it. We just can't prove it.
Yeah. But other games also do the character like alternate thing in excess in a way that actually, makes Fago look good, I think. Because while Fago has way too many Artorias, they still have a very large selection of characters or of individual characters.
True.
Whereas Honkai Impact Third, or as much as I love this next game, Punishing Grey Raven doesn't have a huge character pool. They have a lot of variations of the very small character pool.
Fate's real lucky. He gets to choose from whatever units in history it wants to. PGR and Honkai established a core grouping of units and have gone outside of it, to be certain. But
PGR is doing better recently from things I've seen, but
okay,
they have been adding more.
But there are a lot of alphas, not alphas. What was her name?
Lucia.
Lucia's, yeah. Lee had a bunch. Liv had a lot, yeah. But again, I mean, for me, I don't really mind that if it's focused around the story. Like, I get it. They're robots. At least I'm pretty sure they're robots. They're robots. They're combat units. They're gonna get damaged. They need upgrades. I guess it's fine. Like, Fate takes it into like ludicrous mode. They've gone to plaid, and frankly, it is too much. Then like, I'm fine with like 3 or 4 different units of the same character. Sure, I get it. They're popular. Artoria is popular. I don't see why personally, but she is.
She's vanilla. Well, okay. So using the term vanilla is bad because she's basic. She's basic. She's basic for a waifu. She is one of the poster girls for not just Fate, but all of Type Moon.
Yeah.
I was saying for Type Moon, yeah.
Like, yeah. Say what you will about her.
And I will.
There is a reason, unfortunately, that Nero was initially just Red Artoria.
Yeah.
Red Roman Artoria. But thank you, Wada, for managing to differentiate Nero so much so that even when you draw both of them, Nero still looks different than Artoria. I don't know how you do it, Wada, but you managed to do it.
I'm gonna attribute that to artist talent, Umu.
Umu.
Oh my god. It's not December. We do not Umu. We Umu in December and July. That's it. We Umu for summer event and for Christmas. Well, I guess we don't even Umu in December. We Potaru.
We Potaru. Cue the memes.
Going back a bit, I do want to say this because I want to be able to throw Shel under the bus. You asked how he got into Arknights, and he explained it. So I'd like to explain how I got into Arknights because it's a very simple thing. He bullied me into it, and then when I finally got into it, he made sure that everyone knew. So
yes.
I was in fact bullied into another game.
Yeah. So I'm sure our listeners have learned by now. Dalek gets bullied into a lot of games.
Yeah, sure do.
We're great friends, all of us.
To be fair, the bullying was entirely friendly.
And of course, there's no malice.
And I used and I baited him with characters I knew he would like.
God, the art was really
To be fair,
good.
when I bullied him into to Diablo, there was no friendliness. I was just like, play this. Look at this and play this.
It still wasn't malicious, but yeah, no, there was a lot less. Hey, check this out. Hey, I think you'd be into this. It was a whole lot more like, I need someone to play with. Hey, Dollet, play with me. Do it. Come on.
Dollet, get in here.
Come on. And eventually it worked.
Yeah, no, it was funny when Dalek got into it, I have to admit, because it was just another normal day on the internet, in the Discord, and then Shel just goes into our Arknights channel, and he's just like, hey guys, Dalek's playing Arknights, look.
Yeah,
Post a screenshot.
That's what it was. Like, God damn it. Everyone wasn't supposed to know.
It wasn't difficult, though.
No.
No, Dalek's really easy.
I, as true as that statement is, I feel the need to defend myself, and I'm not sure how to do it.
It's because you can't.
Because I can't. No, I'd already been shown the various ascension arts for the characters, which were all very nice. I'd been shown gameplay, which was not as great, but what are you gonna do? And I'd read through the first chapter via, I don't know, YouTube or something. I was like, oh, shit, this is more grown up than I thought. At that point, Joe was just throwing more characters that looked interesting at me, and I was like, fuck. Yeah, all right, I'll give it a go.
Throw more wood on the fire.
Essentially, right? And the fire had already begun.
Right.
He was just feeding it further. So, the spark.
Yeah, you played it quite a bit and for quite a while. Too.
One of the
longer
years, I think. Maybe 3.
Yeah, one of the longer gacha games you've stuck with, honestly.
Yeah, it was easy because I only had to get to like chapter 8, I think, and then I could just stop playing the story, and it was just a case of maintenance mode, like forever. Also, gravel's in the game, which is a plus.
I mean, I think we could make a whole episode just praising, the different
characters.
Yeah,
that's
like
Ryan's lab is also in the game, which is my biggest plus. I fucking love that division.
Along with the story, the game very much is not afraid. One, the doctor is like
the player
stand-in is whichever gender you want them to be.
Doctor.
There are hints into what race they are or what they might be, because they're clearly not normal, even by Arknight standards, since there are no humans. But it also goes as far as not being afraid to put women in positions of power. Like, pretty much a good chunk of the group that Dalit mentioned, Ryan's lab.
Yeah.
Pretty much
a
majority of a bunch of their science divisions are run by women. A whole country is run by one woman, Syracusa. I can't remember her name. The mafioso lady.
Yeah.
I forget what particular title they give her. But and it's not like they don't have men that are in power, but they very much are not afraid to be like, yes, this is a single independent woman that don't need no man, to use the meme.
I mean, I think it projects people of power, male or female, incredibly well too.
Yes, and it also shows like how you do have people who are in power that are good, and then what having like unchecked power does to people.
Yeah.
Kirsten's fine. I don't know what you mean.
I don't know. Dropping a chunk of a space station on a city as a test seems a little much.
Oh, I see. When Shar does it, oh, he's a great leader. Sig Xeon. When Kirsten does it, oh, wow, that dog's got to get put
call
down.
Shar a great leader for that either, considering it was in the middle of a war. Kirsten.
No, I'm just having a laugh.
Kirsten was testing something.
No, testing, that's a valid reason.
No, control's horrible. She's She's very pretty. Um, no, no. Like to your point, I do want to clear up one other thing because I think that that'll be taken out of context and you'll be strawmanned for it. It is more than just like strong independent women. Like it is actually a case of how to show someone in power regardless of gender, and what that does to them. But it doesn't strip them of their femininity, and specifically for the women, it shows that you can be a strong character without being like a Hollywood girl
Yes.
boss, right?
Yeah, it shows a huge
A thing that we're
variety of
fucking sick
characters.
unto death of
It,
seeing.
like the game does a great job of showing a huge variety of characters, and like that's it. That's in and of itself. It has a variety of characters,
Yeah,
and it makes each of those characters and their individuality shine, like for whatever their traits or characteristics may be.
more importantly than even just the characters, what makes them interesting isn't them in and of themselves. It's very rare that any character's a monolith just onto themselves. It's the interplay between other characters because they're all interdependent on each other, whether it be Ryan's lab as a workplace relationship, or the Aegir hunters being the absolute pinnacle of eldritch horror,
Yeah,
of surviving eldritch horror,
yeah,
all the way back to just our base. Like Rhodes Island is just a series of, hey, I'm out of my depth, can you help me? The only one who doesn't do that is Cal, and she does, but she'll never use those
Yes.
I love
words.
Cal.
Like there's and um I think it was for the second anniversary that they had pretty sure it was the second anniversary they had Starset make a music video just for Arknights. Mind you, this is another tangent, but I've never known a Chinese company. Specifically, I'm pretty sure I don't know where YoStar and Hypergriff are based, but I have never known a Chinese company to seek out an American band to help do their advertisements, whether for English
Yeah,
or their home language. Actually, I should say any foreign
sure.
company looking for an American band. Before Arknights, I never knew of the band Starset, and holy shit, they're one of my favorite bands now.
I've heard of
Um,
Starset. I didn't know they had anything to do with Arknights, so that's cool.
in Infection it's such a good song because it not only like it reads for Arknights, but it also reads for the not the end of the pandemic, but when the pandemic toned down. And it was really it's a really good song just for fitting both real life and a video game. But what were the other ones? Monster and Unbecoming were the two songs they used
Mm,
for advertisements before it came out. I think that's also how I saw it, was just on YouTube. Something got through my ad block at the time and I saw um the first PV for it and I'm like, is this an American game? And then, I looked it up, Chinese game, and I'm like, is this fan made? Is this a fan made thing? Is this an English song? And
imagine
then
Arknights knew that Shell needed to play so much, it wasn't letting an ad blocker get in its way.
it was just one of those things that I was very, very surprised about. Just and I guess this is a good way to segue into the music of Arknights. Um, Final Fantasy XIV runs the gambit in music genres, but it kind of all does have a similar base due to being made by one person in Soken.
Yeah,
Arknights
Fair.
until
Yeah.
also
recently.
runs the gambit, but because their in-house studio is a studio, they pull from everywhere and they have a majority of the lay motifs that they do are in English, but um, this is also something they've done with the characters, because originally all the characters were voiced in Japanese. What they have done to help further diversify the world, they have different languages for different characters based on where they're from
Yeah.
in the world and where that's sort of kind of representing in the real world itself. Like, with the exception of a couple operators from early on that we didn't know were from there at the time. The Syracusan operators. It's basically mafioso Italy, run by wolf people. All those characters have full Italian voice acting, and then voice actors that either do a very good representation of an Italian accent speaking English, or they're just someone who is Italian speaking English, and it is, and
They're so
it's
good.
beautiful. They have a lot of the Chinese units have both Mandarin and traditional, which I believe is them taking from where the dialect from whatever region of China that character would be from. Um,
Yeah, it's the regional variant.
um, they haven't done it with the Russian characters yet, but I think given the state of the world, that is the main reason why we don't
Yeah.
have any Russian language in it yet, though we do have Russian accents now. It's probably the reason why it took so long to get the Russian accents for the English voices. Um, but it, the music work and the voice work in this game, I would fully put against Final Fantasy XIV, which I think has full stop at the moment the best music overarchingly in video games right now. I would fully put it against for Final Fantasy XIV.
I wouldn't disagree with that in terms of video games right now. It does, yeah. No, that was something I was gonna say. Is like it. You see them doing things that is very unsuspected, unseen, and surprising. Like not just for a Chinese-based company, but for just most gaming companies in general. And that is their
Mm-hmm.
like what they're willing to stretch out and pull in to use. Like I was going to lead into the voice acting with they're able to use they're using Italian and Spanish and all of this
And
for
that
those
that is another
regions.
thing is they took a lot of they really took it to heart because the very first batch of English voices were very hit and miss. Um, a couple of voices have been re-recorded because of either I know one voice actress got like a big deal with something else. They were like, I can't come back and do a voice for the alternate version of this character, and so they re-recorded the lines for the normal version when they got a new VA. But like they really took to heart the issues that people had with the original set of voices for English. And I don't think they delayed them, but like anything that was like set in stone was there. But after a couple more sets of voices came out, there was such a sharp increase in quality that it was just like I
I would agree.
I've like I mean I've seen um MMOs do this. Like Final Fantasy 14 did this
14 is a
from
great
ARR
example of
going into
this.
Heavensward, where they completely switched
Yeah.
studios and they never re-recorded all those old voices. I
They should have,
honestly
though.
at this point wish they would, given how many other things they've reworked in that game. Um, but I've never seen a mobile game go out of their way to make sure that I guess outside of the gameplay, from top to bottom, the things that are enjoyed the most by people for the game, in this case, the characters, the story, the music, the voices for the characters, are top notch.
Yeah, they are. The voice acting is incredible. I mean, that's you don't see. What games like do you see where they have regions that are based off of real life places in any medium, whether it's mobile games, AAA games.
I mean, it's there, but it's not. But they don't go as far as having the diversity in voices to accompany that.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have the diversity, and quite frankly, most of the time, I don't think it's done nearly as well as what Arknights has done here, or professionally at least.
Um,
I can't think of a good example, and I'm sure there probably are. I just haven't come across them.
and I guess it also shows in not only that, just the different positions and personalities these characters have. Like you have you have a handful of operators that are they are operators for the service of having the disease they've contracted treated, but you have one operator who is a tunnel digger or miner. With how did I get the word tunnel digger and not remember miner? You have a firefighter. You have um
Firefighter? Do you mean a rap god?
no, the rap god is the emperor, but he's also not an operator. Um you have a fashion designer. You have a guy who owned a host club. Uh, like, I mean, like you do have like professional soldiers, or very unfortunately, in the case of the students of Ursus characters, high school and middle age girls. They just well, two of them know how to
All they
fight.
know is war now.
Or maybe three. We have Leto in the Chinese server. We don't have her yet in global, but like they've done a great job in just fully diversifying the cast. In I do wish that there were more male operators, but like the personalities, the there are some there is a bit of favoritism towards regions, but there really is like the full spread of everything from what makes these characters individuals and more than just more characters in a video game.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to say that it's anybody that's listened and has heard my stance in the past, whether it be in the podcast, if you watched my old YouTube videos that I did, or whatever, that I love the characters in gotcha games, and I think it's very important, and you don't see it enough, that a game has a good diversity of male and female characters. So good male characters are like a necessary thing for me to really praise a game a lot of times. And Arknights really does really good male characters. Maybe there's not enough of them, I agree, but the ones it does are always so good.
I don't like him as much, but well, actually, there are two male characters I'll point out that I'm not super keen on, but as far as what they add to the world are great. You have Silver Ash, who me and a few friends affectionately call War Crimes Cat,
Yeah, he is like that.
because he has committed actual war crimes as far as how well, I guess how we would
If I
define
had a
war
face cam right now,
crimes.
people would see me smiling and
Um,
nodding my head like, yeah.
um, and then there is I'm forgetting his name, the guy who runs Lungman. Uh,
Wait,
Yeah, way.
yeah, Way. He is one of those. well-intentioned extremist is the wrong term, but it is along those lines
At any
where
cost for the protection of his city.
of yes, and him keeping his power, maintaining the status quo. He will maintain the status quo by any means
Yeah, and
necessary.
they do fit that showing leadership characters very well across the diversity of type of characters too, because both of them are definitely a type of leader. So
And they're not afraid to show. I said this before, but both good leadership and bad leadership. And in between that, um, uh, any of the events involving Penguin Logistics, I point at as often as they're generally more lighthearted. Apart from the Syracusan event, um, the the leader for Penguin Logistics, the Emperor, yes, he is a talking penguin wearing a Tupac shirt with a Glock, but
right,
he will do what is best for his employees.
Him and the girls.
Um,
And I guess Bison
like
too now.
yeah, um,
Forget about that kid.
but he's in, and it actually does show like that good people being in charge, because it's a rarity in the real world. It's also a rarity in Arknights. He's one of the few leaders that is like, yes, these people are my people. They are my family, and if you touch them, you will fucking regret it.
Well, you've gotten to kind of something that I didn't realize we were going to get this granular about it, but yeah, good leadership comes in small groups where you can kind of see everything that's important to you. The questionable leadership is when things get so large, you literally lose track of things. Like Way's a great example of this. Way's the leader of one of the largest cities. Full stop.
In the Arknights world, and
So
him putting his power and the masses ahead of, even his own daughters, adoptive though they may be. It says a lot. Well, also say it doesn't say a lot about the state of the world. It says a lot about him as a
as a
person.
person, exactly.
But because they're also like where he's a bit more jaded, and if we're going to talk about jaded people, there's also Mlynar over there, if I'm even saying that right, because
Muinar is something else. Sad Uncle Hans has been through a lot.
but there are also characters that are very much the complete opposite, that are like these bottomless fountains of goodness and hope. Like it's there aren't a lot of them, but there are a handful of characters that like they do just believe in the goodness of everything. And a lot of them are ones that have not been through the hell that is war. Blemishine is probably one of the best examples, honestly.
Maybe, but I wouldn't classify her as a leader of anyone. That
No,
falls to
no,
the
no.
older sister.
I'm just saying, yeah. Nero is a more jaded because she's seen what her country's like,
True, but when
but
you're comparing her against like actual leadership of the world state of the states,
yes,
she's still like
yeah.
exactly an absolute shining beacon in the dark. Also, I guess literally.
yeah, I guess literally. So you got all these amazing characters, right? And we put a lot of
Hmm.
emphasis on these amazing characters that have great interpersonal stories, great character stories, showing great leadership, showing great groups. The game has an amazing story, has amazing events. We've touched on that a lot, right? And it leads into something about that this game has done, that though it's not the first gacha game to do it. It's one of the first gacha games to do it, in that it's gotten its own anime. But I think it is the
Yeah.
first to do really well as far as the anime goes.
The Grand Blue anime, it's not as high quality. But that also came out in 2017 or 2016. It was still when Grand Blue was young and not looking toward its 10th year.
It may have been a little bit earlier than that even.
I think it was around its second or
Yeah,
third year. So it was still a young game when that happened. Arknights in China had hit its 4th anniversary by the time it got the first season of the anime, and they've now
right.
finished the second one. With in 2 months, 2 or 3, actually 3 or 4 months, CN will be hitting its 5th anniversary. And Global is just finishing up their 4-year
Yeah,
anniversary event. Like it literally ends tonight. Well, I guess that'd be, by the time people are listening,
yeah.
it'll be a
It'll have
while.
been past by the time
Um,
people get around to listening to this one. But
yeah, the event's so long, Adele.
and Grand Blue, it was early in its inception. The anime was fine. Not saying that one was bad or anything. Girls Frontline did an anime. I never watched that one. Didn't hear a lot of amazing things about the anime, but I've yet to watch it to judge myself on that
So
one.
I'll
Please do.
comment on that. So the first anime they did was this super cute, not at all canon, chibified telling like the first couple of chapters, and then it just does its own thing because it's it's chibis running around doing
Mm-hmm.
chibi things.
As chibis do.
So yes. Though Satma 2 Jr. was amazing. A fucking gremlin, more so than
Let's go
regular
Sop.
Sop, but yes.
No, this is fine.
The um the anime they put out, um one reason why some people may not have seen it or heard about it is because it would be under the name Doll's Frontline because of issues that the Girls Frontline IP has in
Really, I
Japan.
didn't know about this because it originally
Neither did
aired
I.
on Funimation for
So
EN, and it was titled. Of course, Funimation has not since been absorbed into Crunchyroll, but it was titled on the EN side, Girls Frontline. So
yes, so in Japan, Girls Frontline is titled Dolls Frontline because about a year before Girls Frontline came to Global, it had been out for like half a year in CN or so, maybe a little bit more than that. They were looking to put it out in Japan because that's like the second biggest mobile market, or was at the time, and NA might be bigger at this point. Um, it is also a Chinese game, by the way, and they had everything lined up for it to start. Like the IP rights and everything was set for Girls Frontline. And then at the last minute, I'm not sure what exactly happened, but they had to pull out. And then around the time NA got its version, or quote unquote Global got its version, they went to put it out again. But the company that had set up the licensing for Girls Frontline refused to release the trademark for Girls Frontline in Japan. So they had to rebrand it as Dolls Frontline.
huh, that's that's interesting. I didn't know anything about that, and it's really weird that they would so vehemently hold on to that branding.
Well, I think they wanted money, and Mika Team I think this was a little bit after Low Light left as well. They were like, give us money. And like having just lost like half of their studio because when Low Light left, he took like half of Mika Team with him because they were like, we're loyal to him, not to you. They were probably not too willing
Fork
to
out the cash.
part with part with unnecessary
Right.
funds at the time. So they just rebranded it to Doll's Frontline, and everywhere everywhere except Japan, it'll still be Girls Frontline and Girls Frontline 2 whenever that comes out. But in Japan, it'll be Doll's
So,
Frontline.
but the anime itself that just came,
Was
eh,
eh,
yeah.
it was okay. A big issue people had is they actually, I mean, unsurprisingly, they gave a face to the commander for Girls Frontline. The
Everybody expected
issue
that with
people
Arknights
have,
too, and they did.
yes, they did. But they made a female commander, which surprised everyone. But then they made her a raging lesbian.
Yeah, that
Checks
that
out,
that, that
honestly.
kind of tracks with that game, I suppose.
They made her a raging lesbian. Like, I think one of the first comments when she's standing outside of the base on what is her first day is like, um she doesn't mention sleeping with. I think she says, I wonder who the first doll will get the kisses, because that is what the robots, the girls in Girls Frontline are called. They're called T-dolls. So, and it was just really weird. And I watched a couple episodes, and while it stays true to the story, it was
This
just
archetype they gave the
uh
commander
the
just really,
the archetype they went with for the commander really put
yeah,
me
it's kind of
off.
grating with the very
And
serious and like darker story as it progresses.
well, the story's pretty lighthearted for the first couple of chapters, and then
Right, yeah, but it gets,
chapter 6 hits, and everything goes to shit, and it continues going to shit, and then there's a little bit of light in chapter 9, and then forget about it. Then it's like, I wonder how many of these girls are actually going to make it to the end of the story. And going by the previews for Girls Frontline 2, oh my Girls Frontline 2, a lot of them make it. To much my surprise. But it is a very serious story. And it was like, just that opening got me, very like, I don't know about
yeah, that,
this. And then after the first couple episodes, I think it got like middling reviews. Like, it's not, it had decent production quality, which is good. Like, there was a lot of detail given to like the girls' outfits and the weapons, as it should, but it was just them wedging that
so
commander
yeah, very
personality in there.
serious,
Was like,
darker story with a very with a character personality archetype that was kind of grating to that in as your quote unquote lead character. So yeah, okay, that makes sense. I can see what that would off put me too. Um, I kind of want to still watch it to see it, but I haven't done it yet. I probably won't in the immediate future. But uh, whereas that got mildly reviews, like you said, and you don't hear much about it. To be fair, which is sad because the story to Girls Frontline is really good, and I was hoping it would do well, so that story would be in a good form for people to be able to enjoy. Because, as we said, not that fun of a game to play. The Arknights anime was incredible. Like, I mean, okay, I can only speak to the first season. I haven't watched the second yet, but it was incredible, and it told the story immaculately, and it did a great job, catching and representing those characters. At the very least, the characters that had significant roles to play in that story. So it does.
I'd agree with that.
It does raise the question: how are they going to proceed as they get further? Where different characters come in, more characters come in. How are they going to handle some of the side characters and those relevant side stories?
my personal hope is for Arknight's anime is once they are done with the base storyline, which is chapter 0 to chapter 8, which is, I think, the next season should wrap it all up. since these seasons are so short, they're like 7 or 8
They're
episodes.
not very long, yeah.
Perfect for Mallet.
I would like
True.
to see them give focus to some of these significant event stories, because some of them are very long. The event we had for the Ryan's Lab event, that could be a whole season by itself. It's that long. It's like 145,000 words or something in terms of text. Like they could
Under
easily make that
tides.
into
Under
into
tides.
and
Under
into.
tides.
They could also do
I'm with
Undertides as
that one.
well. They could also
Yeah, I
do
would like that
Undertides
one.
as well. And Undertides would be great if they were to have a season release around Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much they could do, and I would love to see
Um,
them do. They just need
yes.
to continue to give it the love and care that they have so far.
Well, that's something that I have a lot of hope for, because there does seem to be a tiny bit of like meddling and whatnot with Yostar with Hypergriff. Not a lot, but just enough that you can kind of see
Mm-hmm.
it's there. Um, and that is why Hypergriff has made a secondary company that doesn't use Yostar as a publisher, and they're the ones in charge of Arknight's Enfield, which hopefully we'll be seeing more of soon now that they've gotten that beta test done. And
Before we move on to that, because we should definitely move on to that, I will point out that I think you two are a lot more optimistic on the anime than I am. Not because I think the anime is bad at all. It has fine quality and it did a good job telling the story. But I do, and for the foreseeable future I will, see that as a glorified advert to get you into Arknights so that
oh
you
yes, the anime
see.
is absolutely in advertisement to get you to play the game.
Yes, and specifically with the new game, which they would have known about at the start of the animation.
Oh yes, because we've known about Enfield since like the end of 2002.
Exactly. So this is just, to me, seems like a fantastic advert campaign, and I don't actually see them going too deep into the series.
No, you're probably right. It probably is that.
That's fair. I mean, hell, after they finish the main story, rather than anime series, just give us two
I'd be
OVAs a
fine.
year, and I'm
I'd be
fine with
fine
that.
with that. I would like that quite a lot.
Don't even need a series. Don't even, for especially as long as some of these events are, you could cram some of these events into. Because I'll tell you what, animation goes a lot faster than reading text.
True.
So you definitely could cram some of these events into an hour and a half, 2 hour OVA.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would like to see more animation going forward. Just telling this
Yeah,
story
absolutely.
because it's a great story, but tower defense isn't my thing, and that makes it hard for me to sit down and enjoy the story. So this has been amazing for me to enjoy the story. So that's why I am as hopeful and positive outlooking towards it, because that's what I want. I want it to do that because I want to be able to enjoy the story that I do very much enjoy, even though I don't enjoy the game. Love the characters, love the story.
Don't like tower defense, you say? Like Arknights, you say? Have I got the game for you?
I think I mentioned this in a past episode. Yeah, yeah. There's a game coming out, uh, Arknight's Infield. Um,
Yes.
Before strictly going into that, I want to lead into it saying I have a saying that you listeners have probably heard on this podcast before of a AAA gotcha game, where it is a gotcha game that has a lot of the bells, whistles, and polish that you don't normally see in gotcha mobile games that you would see more in not necessarily a AAA game, but an actual like console release title game.
Call it double A.
You can call it double A or single A titles, right? That you would see on your console like game releases. But for mobile or gotcha games, that's enough to consider it a AAA among that genre alone, if you consider mobile gotcha a genre, I suppose. And for the most part, the only games or company I've ever given that to uh,
Mm,
is MiHoYo and what they do with their
yeah,
games, because they really put
100%.
a lot into those. Like, it is no surprise the phenomenon that Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail uh, are and have become, and that they have,
and are now cannibalizing each other for it.
yes,
It seems that way,
yeah,
honestly.
fair, that they have become these big AAA in terms of gotcha games. Well, you look at Arknights, and Arknights, who in some ways started some trends that I think even influenced the some of the design aspects of MiHoYo with Genshin and stuff when they went into it, because the pity system is, well, not exactly the same, is very similar to Arknights. Um, and I think there's a few other things like that, but Arknights started a lot of these trends that are fairly common in a lot of gotcha games nowadays, really. And you see this amazing love to detail in their game, the amazing story, all of these factors that would normally you would attribute to a AAA game. Like we talked about how this voice acting thing and the nationality and the attention to detail to that they put in that voice acting, you don't see in a lot of AAA RPGs and games out and whatnot, right? And you see it in Arknights. It feels like they're really pushing for a AAA gotcha game to be the next AAA gotcha game, to be a competitor to that sphere, which for the most part is ruled, owned, and dominated by MiHoYo. There are some
Yeah.
other games out there. You could argue Tower of
Wuthering
Fantasy.
Waves.
I was gonna say, isn't Tower
Yeah, so
Fantasy
you
one
could
that's on
you could
console?
or so you could argue Tower of Fantasy. You could argue you could probably argue Wuthering Waves is also shooting to be that uh as well. Waiting to see how that all pans out with that game still, of course.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
the same company that did PGR, and PGR is a very fun game, of course. But
It's true.
so there are other games shooting for this as well. An example, Girls Frontline 2 is in some ways looking to shoot for that as well. It's becoming more of the norm. But I think personally, personal opinion, Arknights is the best shot to invade that sphere and create a space for themselves that's, in a space that is almost ruled entirely by MiHoYo.
They're also aiming for, well, there is like action oriented gameplay from what we've seen of the from videos that have been allowed to put out for the beta test. There's a lot of focus on base building.
Yeah.
So if you're someone who likes base building, like say in, the fucking instant crazy phenomenon that is Power World, or I guess Arc. I don't know if that actually has
It
base
does.
building.
I
Um,
I wonder if that's perhaps too strong a comparison, because what I've seen is very basic in comparison to like a strict survival game. Like it's been one of the bigger
You could
complaints to come out of the beta, as a matter of
you
fact.
could probably compare, maybe not to a pure base builder like that. You could probably compare it to something a little bit more toned down, like V Rising or something like that. It's a little bit more simple.
but again, it is just a beta to test things out, so we'll see.
Sure.
Like we don't have like a full. I guess it gives us. Let's just play the game. We'll let certain individuals play the game, see how it runs, test the mechanics, and a lot of things were very basic. So we still don't have a release date for it. This is the first beta test they have done.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I think GFL2, which what was it, halfway through December, it came out in CN, or that was like um their open beta, I think it was, before the game actually released last month, whenever it was.
Right.
So like I think the first beta for GFL2 was like October 2022. So depending on development timeline, we could still be like over a year out
Sure,
from
absolutely.
seeing a full finished game with like actual like full base building mechanics, whatever they plan on going with.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the potential is very much there that we won't see this year, but I do believe they are shooting for this year. I think that is the window they are shooting for. I believe they've said that at least.
Ooh.
Given what Hypergriff has done and how willing they are to take in fan feedback, I do have hopes for it. I'll keep those hopes, tame because this is their first 3D game. This is, and it takes a lot of work. Game dev is not just, you know, put A, B, C, D together and instantly game comes out. And they've been working on this for a long time, and they want it to be good. They want it to be a proper extension of the Arknights universe, world, whatever you want to call it,
Mm-hmm.
and their player base to enjoy it, and also something that people who have watched Arknights from the side or just watched the anime can get into. So if we see it this year, we see it this year. If we see it next year, we see it next year.
Yeah,
I'm in no rush for them to put it out just because I want something good and finished, and for a game at release is complete, and that for even the average player isn't just like devoured within like 20 or 40 hours of game. I guess 24 hours, 20 or 40 hours of gameplay would let you complete most stuff, but that there is at least a daily rotation of stuff you can do that doesn't feel like, oh, I have to do this in order to keep up, and you can just say log into it a couple times a week
Hmm.
and you feel satisfied.
that's something with gotcha games
It
in
also,
general is capturing that perfect balance of your dailies to how intensive they like ask you to be, like what they ask you to do, because like that's what caused me not to stick with PGR for the long run. Because even though I love that game, very fun game, its daily checklist, though you can do it fast, was to me it was a bit intensive what it asked, because it asked you to actually like really play some content that required actual like focus instead of being a casual daily kind of grind thing. Because
yeah.
like I don't want to praise Genshin after a lot of the things that have been going on, as we've already mentioned loosely, but it's their daily commission system is for the most part really super simple. It's like, hey, go talk to this person, boom, you did it. Hey, go kill 5 enemies, boom, you did it. Hey, go just run in a straight line, boom, you did it. It doesn't require thought. You do it super quick. It's you, so you're still doing that daily. You're getting stuff done, and you're not requiring much of you. It's a weird comparison. I'm not doing it correctly
I mean,
justice, but
Arknights also has kind of figured out. I don't do it every day. I generally just get my weeklies done and that's it. Um, but if you stick with Arknights and you do your daily stuff, a lot of it is that's actually probably one of the best things about Arknights is once you've completed a level, unless you then level up the units that were used in clearing that level and things get funky, it will auto deploy more or less exactly as you completed that
yeah,
stage. Leveling up your units can fuck with that just because the cost to like put them out on the field may increase, or they may kill stuff too fast and it may make things spawn, the following waves spawn sooner, and then you don't have enough units out to deal with it. But for the most part, once you clear a stage once, you don't really have to worry about going back and manually doing it again, unless like the handful of stages where I'm going to be grinding this for fucking forever. let me find whenever units can successfully clear this, or whatever set of units I can use. I'll use node 17 as an example because that is the node. There's like 8 or 9 different units at this point that if you put them in one spot, they will kill everything. They will not die. They will survive the whole map and solo that thing. And then you can pick 11 other units that you want to increase their trust bond, whatever you want to call it. And you can just farm it ad nauseum. And that's great. Being able to clear something once, or eventually go back and clear it again, and then be able to just hit one button and it'll go through the entire thing automatically without your input is great. As a segue, kind of, Grand Blue has kind of figured this out. The issue being is you need to be of a certain rank in order to do skip clears for certain nodes, like certain nodes that you would want to farm every day. It's not perfect, but it works. Having hit that like a month or so ago when I came back for New Year's, it feels great being able to hit like 3 buttons and my dailies are done for the day, and then I can just do whatever else I want to do in the game, or just put it down for the day.
I don't know. I say Grand Blue has found the perfect answer to all of the issues and things you would find in a gotcha game or in a mobile game, and they just went and made him.
And put
Yeah,
out
they just put out
Relink.
Relink and made an actual game. Like that's what
Most correct. Most
Well,
correct answer.
Yes.
That's just what you should do.
Well, not to start like a whole nother conversation with Relink, I think that's good for another episode. Relink, I feel, is a great starting point for Cygames to, one, show that they can make other games, and for whenever Grand Blue Fantasy, the mobile game, does die, they can then move on and tell more stories in that world, in that universe, outside of a mobile game.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said for a long time, Cygames is one of the best like mobile game companies out there. They make good mobile games. They care about their fans. They listen to their fans, etc., etc. And it is a little funny where you see a lot of these mobile gotcha game developers and teams going for this AAA gotcha game sphere that MiHoYo has dominated. And Cygames was just like, yeah, nah, we're just gonna go to the actual gaming sphere and make actual games. And I think that's great. And like Cygames just continues to prove why they're the better company.
Well, Cygames didn't make the Grand Blue fighting games. They had artists
Yeah,
do that.
they licensed it out.
But
right.
Relink is a very good game. Its numbers on Steam show that clearly Grand Blue is something that has been in enough people's perception that they're willing to that they've been willing to give this game it's not like it's on Game Pass. It's only available on Steam and on PS4 and PS5. We don't have numbers for those sales, but the fact that in the same weekend where it came out competing against Persona 3 Reload, and I don't know if that's available on Game Pass though.
It absolutely
and
It is, yeah.
It and um and Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, or Yakuza 8, whatever you want to call it, it was doing better numbers on Steam. Mind you, more people may be playing those two games on Game Pass or on PlayStation or Xbox or whatever.
I'd say Like a
But the
Dragon's
fact that
probably got a bigger player base on PlayStation, and Persona's probably all on the Game Pass because Game Pass sells for a reason.
Well,
I would play it on
knowing
Game Pass. I'll be honest. I have access to Game Pass. That's how I will play it when I eventually get around to it. So
I'm not commenting on Persona 3 because I'm going to talk about that in my next
knowing
episode, I
the
think.
knowing the
fair,
hashtag
understandable.
Atlas faithful, though, there are people that pre-ordered this as soon as they were able to pre-order it.
Sure, absolutely. Like
Whether it was
Matthew's
on
been saying
PlayStation.
this for years. He's been looking
Yeah.
forward to this for like this particular Persona to get remade. So
Yeah, so
I'm someone that was looking forward to this game being remade. Just
but to
not how they have chosen to do
but
it.
to dial it back into Arknights into Infield. So,
right.
So on like when like we did an episode, I don't know how long back now, where we were talking about, games that we were really looking forward to in the coming 2024 and maybe a little bit beyond. And I mentioned as one of my like rapid fire, just wanted to put it out there that I am looking forward to it, was Infield, because I want to see a big game compete in that sphere, and give competition to MiHoYo and whatnot. But it's also like something I realized when I was picking out my choices, and I had interest in Infield already. But what really made me pick it was, for the most part, the only primarily gotcha games that you see on big stages have been MiHoYo games. I think Tower of Fantasy made it into a
It did,
state of play at one point.
yeah.
Yes, when they announced that it would be coming to PlayStation, it was like a month out
Yeah.
of it coming to PlayStation. They had a state of a very small, but it was still there for state
Yeah,
of play.
and that's like the only time it's shown up or been anything. Uh, but this was the Game Awards
Yes,
where
Enfield
Infield
was at the Game
made a
Awards.
presence known for itself, which was like, wow, that's kind of cool and impressive. I'm excited to see what they're
It
gonna
also
do.
says like, um, basically, if you don't know about Girls Frontline, you're not going to be actively aware of Girls Frontline 2.
Yeah.
Girls Frontline 2 will come and go. Um, I'll shill it a little bit for anyone out there that likes XCOM style games, because that is what it plays like. It plays like XCOM. Just, you don't have to worry about permanent unit death, because if you fuck up a map, that's just, yeah, you fuck up the map and then you try and figure it back out.
I'm sure we'll talk about it on the podcast when we actually get like the English version, because I know I'll be trying it out.
Yeah.
Mm,
I will definitely try it
I
out as
think
well, given
Dalit
how
is
much
as
time
well,
I put into.
I don't know. We'll see.
because I know you played XCOM, right?
Uh, I've played it. It's not one of the series I flock to for enjoyment, but I have played it. Yes.
Okay. At the very least, I will be playing it. So if needs be, we'll keep Dalit here and we'll drag you back on and talk about Frontline 2 when that time comes
I
I
don't
mean,
around.
mind.
there's a couple of. I mean, I'm not as bad about gotcha games as you are, Matt.
Yeah.
But if
God,
you
even
need,
without Nat, you immediately get thrown under the bus. That's astounding.
if you need a third person for gotcha games, or just a game that either Nat or Dalit are not into, and you need a third voice, I'm here.
I know that's
You know, job permitting.
Yeah, I know. And like I said, I probably very likely will bring you on when I want to talk about that or bring that up. Because I will be checking that one out because I am a fan of XCOM. Though I've never finished one of those games because I always end up getting angry before actually getting to the end of that game.
Yeah, that's a move.
um,
Or just be like me and watch one of your favorite streamers play it, have them name a character after you, and you're the MVP of their whole fucking run.
oh, we've done that. We did that when we were mods for Ethis, if you don't remember.
That is
Yes,
true.
I wasn't one of Ethos's mods, but I was one of his more frequent watchers, and I think I donated. I think I either tipped or gave bits or whatever, and he named a character after me, and I was like the MVP of his whole damn run, and that was great.
Yeah, no, I think And I think I was like at the beginning half of that same run. I was there running until I
I
died.
forget who ended. I think it was either Seaver or Dan ended up being like my battle buddy. Like he got a perk that like let us have like a psychic bond, and then one of them died, and then like I got like some kind of defense down permanently, but then I also had like this huge attack up, and I just like fucking walked up to things and one shot them, and I'm like,
It
okay, I'll
XCOM's
take
a
it.
great game,
So
so
long,
it's
so long as I don't die and I kill things, I don't have to worry about
that's the
dying.
trick. As long as you kill things, because for some reason the way they calculated could you hit something is just wild in XCOM. Uh, so hopefully, Girls Frontline 2 doesn't have that issue. That's the
Yeah,
big
let's not do the if
No,
it's not
they're not. They won't.
100, it's 0 thing. That
yeah.
would be.
No, even at 100 you can miss. Just in XCOM. Just
It's just
fun
50
fact.
50 the whole time.
It won't. But yeah, so I mean that game looks incredible and something that I want to see as well. And it does, though it hasn't been able to advertise itself that way. Maybe because Girls Frontline was a little bit more niche, so the company's not as big.
It is definitely more
Yeah,
niche, and Mika Team. I don't know who is it. I don't remember who they use as a publisher, but it'll definitely be interesting if it is able to uh break ground and get people to play it. I don't know if it will. I think we're at the point for just mobile games in general that you're either playing Genshin still or one of MiHoYo's games, or you're like, or you're someone like you, Matt, who like plays a game, tries it out, and maybe you stick with it, or if like you're not into it, you just don't. Um, but I don't think that there is a lot of space at this point for new mobile games, but we've seen a lot of mobile games dying
it's
lately.
true.
Like in the past year, we've seen a lot of mobile games dying. And while its anniversary is coming up, and I think I like a lot of my friends who have played Grim Blue Forever say they feel like its end is near. I don't know how true that is, but and not to jinx it, if it does like announce its end, I do want to be on here for an episode of that. Just as someone who, like, especially now that Relink has come out and been such a big success, I do want to be on here for that
For sure. Yeah.
if it ever happens.
No, we'd be happy to bring you onto that. And just like you're one of the people we would happily bring on when we finally get some kind of information about FGO2 that is almost definitely going to be something eventually, whether that's a gotcha game or whatever. It's going to be something eventually. Um,
One
one
day.
day. No, it's yeah. I'm excited to see what Girls Frontline 2 does because it does look fun, and the determining factor I think that'll really determine whether it breaks into that AAA category for gotcha games, which is about the only way I think a gotcha game survives nowadays is if you can break into that category, is if they can find a way to get it onto a console because that will do a lot for its longevity and player base. I think that is shown with Tower of Fantasy and uh just like it's shown with the numbers for MiHoYo's games as well. You get it onto a console, the player base will shoot up, and that will get eyes on it. And I think Infield is supposed to be shooting to come to a console as well. I don't know for certain, but I believe it to be. So look forward to seeing that as well. Uh, yeah, it's gotcha games are kind of dying, and to defend myself a little bit from being thrown under the bus by literally all of my friends, I'm doing better with the number of gotcha games I play.
Well, given that one of your favorites is about to die,
True, but
Which one?
Defu.
Isn't that
It
already
was like,
down?
No, it ends at its final day is the last day of this month.
Okay.
I was gonna say, and Ali was just playing it yesterday.
Yeah,
That's
no.
right.
It is the last day of this month. February is its anniversary month, so it 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 lived
What a way
it
to
lived
go.
to see its final anniversary month.
I guess that's kind of nice.
Yeah, and then it dies. There was a whole interview with Nomura about Dissidia that I'm thinking we'll bring up here in the near future on the podcast. That's kind of curious to say the least. But yeah, no, Defu's dying. Um, but I've cut back on my gotcha games a considerable bit. Like which one, Slime had a crossover with Overlord, which I was like, oh, that's cool. I looked at it and I was just like, yeah, I'm not playing it though. I'm just like, I'm not.
You've just retired from Counterside as well.
Yeah, and I've retired from Counterside. They just had their update for their like 1 year origin anniversary, which if you play Counterside, you know what that means. If you don't, just assume whatever you want that means. I'm not going to try and explain it right here. And I've literally seen nothing because my old consortium, like over like 70% of us ended up all quitting at once for the most part. Me and the boss man both quit, and so we just turned our consortium Discord into just a general Discord for us to hang out in. And the few people that are still playing, I haven't seen them say anything exciting about this 1 year origin anniversary update. I haven't seen anything remotely interesting, and I'm just like, yeah, kind of glad I dipped out of that one. So
That's bad. When you hear that, it's like, that's not great.
yeah, it's so. I mean, I hate to say that because I do really really love Counterside, and I still really love Counterside for some reasons, but it's like it
I remember when I tried it out, and when before the global version came out, and it was just like you had to play the Southeast Asia version.
Yeah, that version, let me tell you, that version is dead. When Global came out, they updated Global, they updated Korea, and they updated their JP servers, and then they just forgot about C. It would get an update like once every 3 or 4 months, and it's every time it got an update, it was like, holy crap, they did something on C.
God.
It's like,
Yeah, I
what?
remember playing. I remember enjoying it. I probably put like $10-$20 into it just because that's how I am with gotcha games. And it was good. But I clearly didn't stick with it.
Well, remind me to tell you the full story of what ended up happening in that game sometime. Uh, it's a doozy. Uh, yeah, but so I've cut back on the gotcha games. I like for the most part, the only ones I really play right now is Genshin and Star Rail. That's really it. And y'all all know how active I am in Star Rail.
Oh,
Well, next
super
month.
active, 100%.
Well, next month. Next month is Grand Blue's anniversary. They have I think it's March 9th. They have the live stream to announce the anniversary stuff.
I will probably log into GPF this year for the anniversary, just to collect free stuff and fits around. But yeah, so I'm interested to see like the development of these potential AAAs and where they take gotcha games, because gotcha games feel like they're kind of dying. Maybe there's just not as many interesting ones coming out anymore. Hard to say, but I've seen a lot of gotcha games die in the same year they've come out recently. Like it's been a pretty common sight recently, and that's ooh. So I hope for good.
Listen, they'll live so long as they don't have a collab with
Persona 5.
P5.
Yeah, I've seen that around.
The only gotcha game that has lived through a collab with Persona 5 is Grand Blue Fantasy.
So you see, the problem is clearly Persona 5 comes in for the collab, steals the player's heart, and then the players go play actual RPGs in Persona.
They go play real games instead. Yeah.
They're like, why am I playing gotchas? This thing exists. Oh, jeez. Well, Shel, thank you for coming on and chatting about Arknights with us today. We do appreciate it.
100%. Great having you.
I mean, it's for a mobile game. It has my favorite story and some of my favorite characters ever. And I get to look forward to CN Summer because at like last month or like 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, they had a video showing off silhouettes of big units coming for each month. And for June, it was Hoshiguma's summer outfit silhouette. So because there's only one female
it's not
character
just art.
there's only one female character with a big horn like that and wears baggy pants, and it's Hoshiguma. So she's either getting an outfit or she gets to join Chen and Swire as a summer unit.
There's a
I'm
small hateful piece of me that is just thinking, but what if second Oni unit?
We have other Oni units.
True.
She's not like she's gonna be the first one.
No, my point was my whole point was that you think it's Hoshiguma, but
and it's gonna be someone else. No, it's gonna be Hoshiguma, and
I don't want to come back to this. I don't want to come back to this, and you saying it is going to be Hoshiguma and it not be Hoshiguma.
He's gonna get who's that Pokemon? It's a Pokeball. No, it's a Jigglypuff seen from above.
Give me fucking Crusher Hoshiguma, please.
That would be most appropriate, to be honest.
And then, because of how defensive she is, make her a Crusher with a defensive skill, and then she's just automatically the best Crusher ever because she has all that HP and then actual defense.
Jeez. Well, I hope that is what you get.
I don't care what it is. I'm gonna fucking C6 her.
Oh yeah, no, I don't doubt it for a second. I don't doubt it for a second.
I don't care how many pulls it takes. I'm gonna C6 her.
I don't doubt it for a second. I remember your FGO account.
The Go account was
blessed.
I got everything except what I absolutely fucking wanted because boy oh boy did Quetzalcoatl like to bend me over and do terrible things to me.
I refrain from commenting. Well, as you all heard, this will not be the last time you hear Shel here. He'll be back for several episodes. Honestly, I do have several intending to bring him back for. And hopefully in one of those future ones, it'll be the whole crew with Shel and get to hear all the fun interactions because it's always a fun time. But guys, thank you so much for listening to my two compatriots today. Thank you so much for being here. And all of you,
always a pleasure.
All of you, be sure to hit like on whatever platform you are watching and share it around with your friends. Let them know we exist out there because, as you've heard, we have fun conversations and there's some cool discussions. And if you want to get in on those discussions, you can always use the hashtag AskCRP over on Twitter. As well, if you want to just tweet at us, leave it in the comment on the YouTube section. Also available. You know where to find us. All the links in the description below. Thank you again, everybody, for listening, and we will see you all in the next one.
And I look forward to whenever I'm back again.
Be good now.
Peace, y'all.